Weapon hums beneath the Sargeras in Xal'atath's shadowlands. Violet, what did they light forge to kill the seeped-through void, fractured titan bone? The sword of Sargeras in Xal'atath's bled Azaridia, wound in Azeroth's soul. Violet, what did they light forge to kill the seeped-through void, fractured titan bone? Deep in the why did the dark titans let it flesh sleep? A weapon hums beneath the shadowlands. What did they forge to kill the void, and why did the titans let it sleep? The sepulchre of the first ones etched the cosmos into being. Zurith Mortis cradles its Bonsa design etched in starlight and ruin. The Pantheon's spires rose on the ashes of old empires, their order a fragile shroud over ancient wounds. What did the first ones forge in Sargeras' hollow chest? A key. A weapon shaped from the void's own hunger, buried deep where the Titan's heart should beat. The Titans let the Legion rise, yet their eyes never left the sepulchre's page. Did they write their own downfall into the script of salvation? The answer hums in the marrow of every shattered empire. A weapon sleeps, a cosmos waits. The truth carves deeper than any blade. The sepulchre's cold geometry was never Sargeras' prison, it was the first one's final forge. They saw the void's hunger before even the Titans could name it. Their architects, the first ones, wove the Shadowlands not as a tomb, but as a crucible. A weapon slept in the heart of every star, in the marrow of every world. Sargeras, blind with purpose, became its vessel. The Pantheon did not betray him. They could not see what he saw, the inevitability of corruption, the rot that gnaws even at salvation. He forged the Legion not to conquer, but to preempt the slow unraveling. The first ones, watching their cosmos fray, etched their last hope into his corpse. The sepulchre's gates were never meant to seal him away. They were meant to keep the weapon buried until the stars themselves cried out. What wakes now was never his to wield. The Titans, in their blindness, let the Legion rise not as architects of fate, but as custodians of a silence too heavy to bear. The weapon's song hums in the void between breaths. A question hangs, does it wait to save what can still be saved, or to bury what was never meant to live? The Pantheon carved order from chaos, their hymns silencing the old god's whispers. Amenthul wrenched Shaarj from Azeroth's soul, leaving the veil of eternal blossoms a wound, dressed in splendor. Triumph crowned their hands, yet cracked spiderweb through the marble. Sargeras' tomb, they say, is no prison, it is a vault. The Dark Titan's corpse, hollowed and entombed, cradles the first one's final gambit, a weapon forged in the breath between creation and oblivion. Not to slay, but to still, not for the Titans, but for what stirs in the void's belly. The Black Empire's spires pierce the heavens, Ulduar's watchers etching constellations into law. Suramur's highborn danced in light, blind to the shadow their brilliance cast. The Pantheon's war against the old gods was a bandage, not a cure. Amenthul's blossom a festering root. What use is victory if the price is vigilance? The weapon sleeps, wrapped in Sargeras' bones, waiting for a hand the Titans never meant to find it. The Legion rises not by accident but by arithmetic. The veil blooms, the tomb breathes, and somewhere the void counts. The Titans carved his prison, blind to their own crime. They shackled Sargeras at the seat of the Pantheon, certain they had won. But the first one's blade slept in his ribs, waiting for the curse to seep. What did they think they buried? A tyrant. A corpse, not the key to their hollow victory. The curse of flesh did not rise from Titan iron, it crawled from the rod of old gods, gnawing at what the Titans forged. Their flesh was not a weapon, it was a wound, a door. The Pantheon's hubris carved the veil's first scar. They watched their creations twist, blind to the arithmetic of decay. The sepulchre's walls held no relic. Only a shadow coiled in Sargeras' spine, feeding on every scream the curse devoured. The weapon was never meant to kill the void. It was meant to become it. The Titans let the Legion rise because they could not see the thing they had hidden. Their last hope was not a blade, not a tomb, a transformation, a body. And now the veil blooms with the harvest of their blindness. What did the first ones forge in the dark? What did they become? The answer: blades. The Titans carved his prison, blind to their own crime. They shackled Sargeras at the seat of the Pantheon, certain they had won. But the first one's blade slept in his ribs, waiting for the curse to seep. What did they think they buried? A tyrant. A corpse, not the key to their hollow victory. The curse of flesh did not rise from Titan iron, it crawled from old gods' rot, gnawing at what the Titans forged. Their flesh was not a weapon, it was a wound, a door. The Pantheon's hubris carved the veil's first scar. They watched their creations twist, blind to decay's arithmetic. The sepulchre's walls held no relic. Only a shadow coiled in Sargeras' spine, feeding on every scream the curse devoured. The weapon was never meant to kill the void. It was meant to become it. The Titans let the Legion rise because they could not see the thing they had hidden. Their last hope was not a blade, not a tomb, a transformation, a body. And now the veil blooms with the harvest of their blindness. What did the first ones forge in the dark? What did they become? The answer: blades. The Pantheon's order fractured. Light and void clashed in endless, grinding cycles. What hope the first ones left was buried in a corpse they could not save. Zaval's reaping split the Shadowlands. Secrets bled from the sepulchre secrets the first ones sealed when they vanished. Their departure was not flight, it was surrender. The High Council's last stand held for 7 ages. Then the Archon of Dawn became the first to flee, abandoning the gateways. The weapon in Sargeras' ribs stayed still. Maybe it slept, maybe it waited. The Titans built his tomb not to bind him, but to hide what the first ones carved into his flesh. A blade forged in the breath between creation and collapse. Did the Titans know the blade would rot? Or that the first ones had already decided to let the Legion rise? The void gnaws, the light falters. The weapon remains dormant, its purpose blurred by the silence of those who designed it. Were they saviors or executioners? The sepulchre's stone does not answer. The last to hold the line was Xal'atath, keeper of the forgotten. He drowned in the blood of 1,000 stars, trying to seal the gate the first ones left open. His name is etched in the tomb's foundation next to the weapons. The first one's absence is a wound. Their return is a question without a voice. What use is a weapon when the war never ends? And what price did the first ones pay to plant it in a god they could not control? The eternal conflict grinds on. The tomb's silence is not peace. It is the pause before the blade wakes, or the pause before it never does. The stone breathes, not life, but absence echoed, rhythmic, like a wound clenching shut. Sargeras' tomb lies entombed beneath strata of Azeroth's wrath, its blackened ribs fused to bedrock, veins of corrupted crystal pulsing faintly where the war within seeped through. The air here is thick with the tang of old blood, though no liquid flows, only whispers. They coil in the cracks, syllables of forgotten tongues that shiver the dust into patterns. Asterisk contain. Wait. Fail. Asterisk the corridors where they remain intact are hollowed like bone, their walls scarred by claws that did not belong to the Titan they imprisoned. The first one's weapon sleeps in the marrow of Sargeras' spine, wrapped in layers of void-touched stone. No sigil marks it, no lock. Only the silence between the whispers, a void where even the war within's chaos hesitates. Xal'atath's ascent sent tremors through this place, fissures now gape where none existed, revealing void-lit chambers where the weapon's shadow pools. Yet it does not stir. The world soul of Azeroth, now awake, presses against the tomb's edges like a hand on a grave. It knows, it asterisk feels asterisk the thing buried here, but the weapon's purpose remains a riddle even to a planet's dreaming mind. Time here is not linear. The tomb's corridors shift as if the structure itself mourns or plots. Some paths lead to nothing. Others to echoes flashes of the war within's earliest battles. Sargeras' roar as he shattered his own cage, the first one's final act not of war but of surrender. The weapon was never meant to kill. It was a asterisk pause asterisk. Azeroth's soul stirs restlessly, but the pause endures for now. The cracks widen, the whispers grow louder. What happens when the pause ends? Does the weapon awaken to save, or to finish what the first ones could not? The tomb does not answer. It only asterisk watches asterisk. And beneath continents, in the pause between breaths, the dark waits for the hand that might turn the key. The Lich King walks a paradox, Yogg-Saron's madness bound to Ner'zhul's flesh, Arthas' sorrow etched into every frozen step. His presence in the tomb is no accident. The first one's weapon thrums beneath his tread, a chord that resonates through Sargeras' hollow bones. Arthas's final scream still echoes in the vault's depths, a mortal note drowned by the Titan's metallic breath. What did the prince grasp before the darkness claimed him? Not power, not redemption, the weapon's hunger. Zaval the Reaper carves his path through the Legion's ashes, yet his eyes seek not destruction but dominion. He knows the tomb's secret. Sargeras' corpse is no tomb, it is a womb. The first ones did not hide their weapon to erase the void, they buried it to starve the stars. Every soul the Lich King harvests, every war Zaval wages, circles the same question: who will turn the key? And when the dark stirs, will the hand that unlocks it wield salvationer, become the next verse in the hymn of the damned? Titan runic plates, old god flesh architecture, watcher tablets, each relic a cipher. The plates bear warnings, glyphs of collapse, of a blade forged in dying stars. The flesh fragments murmur of a curse, not containment but infection. The tablets name no prison, they name a purpose, purge, not the Legion. The void, the first ones vanished before the Titans arrived, their absence left a vacuum the Legion exploited. Yet their final act defies erasure, a weapon sealed within Sargeras' corpse, not to bind him, but to bury it. The tomb's true function, vault, not shroud, the dark Titan's body, a sarcophagus for what the first ones could not wield. The Watcher tablets fracture further, one shard survives, asterisk the purging flame consumes its host, asterisk a weapon that feeds on destruction, a paradox. The Titans, architects of order, never knew it. They built their prisons, unaware the corpse they entombed held the only thing capable of burning the void's roots. Where is it now? The tomb's heart hollowed, the weapon gone or dormant. When the dark stirs again, will the key still lie where the first ones left it? Or has the hymn of the damned already begun? What weapon did the first one seal in Sargeras' corpse? A key, a dagger. A final whisper of a race that fled the void's hunger. The tomb is no prison, it is a vault. The Pantheon's continents rise like monuments on the bones of an empire older than light. The Titans built their order atop a wound. A wound that bled time, a wound that held the last hope of a vanished people. The weapon rots now, forgotten, corrupted. Or waiting, the first ones vanished, leaving their wards to crumble. Their silence is a wound in the cosmos. The Titans, those architects of law, did not slay Sargeras, they buried him, a mausoleum for a mausoleum. They knew what slumbered in his flesh, they knew and did not act. The Legion's rise was no accident, it was a gamble. A test: did the first one's weapon outlast their fear, or did they abandon it when the void's song grew too loud? The chains on Sargeras' tomb are not his, they are ours, a leash for a weapon we never understood. The old empire's corpse is a clock, its gears grind slower with each age. The hymn of the damned is not the Legion's. It is the first one's dirge, a requiem for a weapon that may yet burn the stars. When the dark stirs again, will the key still lie where the first ones left it? Or has the hymn of the damned already begun? What if the weapon never needed Sargeras' tomb to awaken? The sepulture's ink now faded, hid laws etched to bind what the first ones feared most. Did the Titans know? They let the Legion rise, yet sealed no blade in that